Live.
Good afternoon, and welcome to your special City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020, and I would like to call the special meeting to order at 1 p.m. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Rains.
Present.
Councilmember Sharma.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Genoway.
Present.
And Mayor Minigar.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. Now I would like to ask Councilmember Sharma to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone would stand, please. Place your right hand over your heart. Former military, current military may salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now move on to the discussion item number 1. On Thursday, December 17, 2020, I called for this special meeting that is to support the City of Newport Beach's amicus brief in Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes' appeal of an order releasing approximately 1,800 inmates from Orange County Jail. The City Attorney, Enos, please provide a staff report.
Thank you very much, Mayor Minigar and members of the council. As the mayor indicated, this agenda item is to seek your authorization to support an amicus brief currently being prepared and coordinated by the City of Newport Beach regarding Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes' appeal of a December 11th, 2020 court order requiring the reduction of the Orange County jail inmate population by 50% in all congregate living areas. At present, the amicus brief being prepared is on behalf of what may become as many as 20 Orange County cities. This case, as indicated in the staff report, pertains to a matter entitled Cynthia Campbell versus Don Barnes in his official capacity as Sheriff of Orange County. A little bit of background. On December 11, 2020, the Orange County Superior Court ordered Sheriff Don Barnes to release approximately 1,800 inmates from Orange County jails. This was in response to a lawsuit asserting that Orange County jail congregate living arrangements posed a significant risk of COVID-19 transmission to jail inmates. On Wednesday of last week, Sheriff Barnes sent out a request to cities and other entities seeking to support his efforts to have the court order overturned. He indicated that he would appeal the order and sought amicus brief support for that effort. Thursday of last week, the city was informed that the City of Newport Beach would be taking up the lead in finding and coordinating the amicus brief writing for cities in Orange County who wanted to sign on and to participate in the coordinated amicus brief. The county is now expected to file its appeal this week, later this week, and then the amicus brief will be filed simultaneously or soon thereafter. A little bit more background about the issue. The issue in the lawsuit was brought to the court in June of 2020 when the American Civil Liberties Union, on behalf of a group of county jail inmates, filed a lawsuit asserting that medically vulnerable and disabled jail inmates were at imminent risk of serious illness and death from COVID-19 due to the manner in which they are housed. The petitioners, and that would be the ACLU, asserted that reducing the current jail population was the only practical means to reduce that risk. Sheriff Don Barnes responded to the lawsuit by arguing that he had already taken multiple and reasonable steps to make the jails as safe as possible. Those steps included lowering inmate population, developing and implementing a thorough testing and quarantine protocol, providing personal protective equipment to staff and inmates, imposing enhanced screening for anyone entering the jail, suspending non-essential visits, and dramatically increasing access to hygiene and cleaning supplies. Despite all of these countervailing arguments, as indicated on December 11th, the court ordered the imminent release of 50% of the jail population. As indicated in the staff report, what is troubling about this order is it does not take into account the public safety impacts on the general community by requiring the release of this many inmates. Instead of balancing community risk of increased crime against the medical needs of inmates in order to craft a reasonable and balanced solution, the court only acknowledged the single interest asserted by petitioners, which is to protect the inmates from COVID and not the public from crime, and only through the imposition of the most drastic remedy, which is the inmate release. So in summary, a challenge to the court order we believe is appropriate because the order does not sufficiently contemplate the risk to the health, safety, and welfare of Orange County residents created by this inmate release plan. Based upon the foregoing, our office recommends that the City Council sign on to support the amicus brief being coordinated by the City of Newport Beach in support of Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes' challenge to the court order. And we also recommend that the council appropriate up to $1,000 to pay the city's pro rata share of the City of Newport Beach cost of outside counsel that is being incurred to prepare the amicus brief. It's anticipated, as I indicated, that approximately 20 Orange County cities will be joining in this particular amicus brief. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney, for your complete and comprehensive report. At this juncture, I would like to ask our City Clerk Gomez if there are any public comments for this item only.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I received several comments. I'll read them one at a time. The cutoff was 10 o'clock a.m., so I'm reading the ones I received prior to that time as posted on the agenda. Dear Ms. Gomez, would you be so kind as to read my public comments during the December 22nd special meeting? Dear Mayor Minigar and council members, I am horrified to discover that the council is considering joining an amicus brief in support of our irresponsible Sheriff Don Barnes. Let's review for a moment the findings of the court that led to the order in question. A, Sheriff Barnes has exercised deliberate indifference to medically vulnerable individuals in his custody in violation of the law. B, Sheriff Barnes has failed to provide reasonable accommodations for disabled veterans in his custody in violation of the law. C, in his failure to act in accordance with the law, Sheriff Barnes has abused his authority. Indeed, given the evidence presented and these findings of the court, it has become clear that Sheriff Barnes himself may be as much a criminal as anybody in his custody. The sheriff's blatant culpability is a more than sufficient reason not to proceed with the proposed filing, but it's not the only one. At a time when every ICU bed in Orange County is filled with new cases at a record 4,600 per day and climbing and skyrocketing fatality rate, why would this council waste time and tax dollars focusing on anything else? It is disgraceful that this council continues to tolerate restaurants and other small businesses in Laguna Niguel operating in flagrant violation of the court-tested legal orders of the governor and the State Department of Health. And yet, not only does the council fail to take action, it actually contemplates further and endangering Laguna Niguel residents by supporting a sitting sheriff who actively and illegally resists engaging with the greatest threat to public safety in our lifetimes. I urge this council to decline to support a sheriff who has repeatedly abused his authority and to redirect its attention instead to stemming the spread of the coronavirus and preventing the suffering and death it leaves in its wake. In a footnote on page 29 of his decision, Judge Wilson wrote that Barnes didn't have to release the inmates, but could transfer them to some other type of custody at the sheriff's discretion. The next one is by KR. Ms. Gomez, I'm writing this email to protest the release of prisoners in our jails in Orange County. We moved to Laguna Niguel because it was a very safe city to raise a family. I can't believe they would even consider doing this. What is happening to Orange County? California is already a state. People are leaving in droves. Orange County is one of the last locations of sanity. Save Orange County. Save Laguna Niguel. Do not release these prisoners who are in prison for a reason. Most sincerely, KP. The next one is by Patty Mouton Barnett. I'm a resident of Laguna Niguel for over 30 years. I urge the City Council to support and join the lawsuit initiated by Sheriff Barnes. The next one is from Mary Steele. Regarding the agenda item in support of the City of Newport Beach's amicus brief in Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes's appeal of an order releasing approximately 1,800 inmates from Orange County jails. Many Laguna Niguel residents, including myself, do not support the sheriff's appeal of this court order. Please just stay out of this court case. There is no need to spend Laguna Niguel's money on this amicus brief. The next one is from Carol Allen, resident. To the members of the Laguna Niguel City Council, I, Carol Allen, wholeheartedly support any action you'll be taking to stop the release of 50% of the inmates in our Orange County jail. This is a far too dangerous and almost insane idea to release any of these dangerous criminals into our communities. We won't be safe here in Laguna Niguel or anywhere else for that matter if any of them are released. I support Sheriff Don Barnes and his decision not to follow this order from the governor. He is merely doing his job to protect the citizens of Orange County. I know you will do all that you can to protect the citizens of Laguna Niguel. Thank you so much for all that you do for our great city of Laguna Niguel and its citizens. The next one is from Michelle Antonesi. I am writing in opposition to Laguna Niguel joining the amicus brief supporting Don Barnes' effort to appeal the court order to reduce the Orange County jail population. Don Barnes has failed in his responsibility to keep Orange County safe from the COVID. He has refused to enforce public health orders, including the mask order. Because of this, COVID is now a crisis situation in the county and in the jails. Instead of fighting the court order, he should be reducing the jail population and requiring that staff wear masks. We have known since early in this crisis that congregate living situations, including jails, were prime locations for the spread of COVID. Many people in jails have been convicted of nothing. Even for those who have been convicted, remaining in a county jail should not mean possible illness and death. The sheriff should do what's necessary to keep these detainees safe. Beyond just those being held in the jail, reducing the spread of COVID in jails is also good for the employees and the county by reducing the spread in the jails and potentially to those that staff the jails and could potentially get sick themselves or bring it home to family members and potentially the communities they live in. Additionally, at this time of crisis, I do not think funding this legal effort is the best use of that money. I would urge the city to use the money in a more constructive manner. With so much need in the community, that money could be better spent helping families or small businesses in need. I urge the City Council to not join the proposed amicus brief. The next comment is by Foster E. Johns. As retired career local and federal law enforcement officers now residing in the beautiful city of Laguna Niguel, we feel compelled to urge our City Council to support the amicus brief currently being prepared and coordinated by the City of Newport Beach in support of Orange County Sheriff Donald Barnes' appeal of the court order requiring a 50% reduction in the Orange County jail inmates population. Sheriff Barnes' primary responsibility is providing public safety to the citizens of Orange County, and in appealing this ruling, he is doing just that. The jail population in Orange County has already been reduced by 33% since the start of the pandemic. The pandemic should not be used as an excuse for criminal justice reform. Furthermore, over the last decade, citizens of California have passed several propositions which have removed misdemeanor and nonviolent criminals from the jails, leaving only the most dangerous of criminals incarcerated. As a result, crime rates are climbing and our communities are paying the price. According to statistics tracked by the Orange County District Attorney's Office, inmates released early before serving their full sentence or on $0 bail went out and committed new crimes at rates nearly triple normal recidivism rates. Complying with the judge's ruling to reduce the inmate population even further will no doubt release dangerous and violent criminals back into our neighborhoods to commit more crimes and victimize more people. What about the greater concerns for the innocent victims, their families, witnesses, and potential new victims of crime? supporting the amicus brief and Sheriff Barnes's position is in keeping with Laguna Niguel's strategic plan, which puts safety first. Thank you for your time. It's from Foster, Jean Johns, and Michelle Leonhardt. The next comment is from Joyce Van Schack. Thank you for voting to stop the release from prisons of those that should not be out on the streets. We need protection not only from those released locally, but from those that will move to our communities. Thank you for your votes against this policy. The next comment is from Marsha Lacko. I certainly don't want criminals released onto the streets of Orange County. I support our police and thank them for their service. Our jail inmates and staff need to be as safe as possible during this deadly pandemic. We must not forget a humanitarian crisis continues to unfold in OC jails, and Sheriff Barnes and public officials have a moral and legal responsibility to respond to it. Laguna Niguel should follow our neighboring cities and draft a letter to the court supporting our sheriff and opposing paragraphs 3 and 4 in the judge's order. The next one is from Paula Cosenza. Mayor Minigar and Honorable Laguna Niguel City Council members, we are writing this letter to say that we are vehemently opposed to the mandate that the governor proposed regarding the release of criminals in Orange County jails. This, in our opinion, is a travesty of justice. It also goes completely against the grain of what public policy regarding safety should look like. We are certain, most of you know, that our daughter was murdered in Aliso Viejo over 3 years ago, and her murderer is still in the OC jail. We've not begun her trial as of this moment. That being said, we don't want criminals like that to be released because of COVID-19 or any other reason for that matter. If released, these criminals will commit more crimes than imaginable against our citizens and spread COVID-19 to many others in our county. In addition, because they will not be gainfully employed, they will add to the growing homeless population. Let's do the right thing and support Sheriff Barnes 100%. He is a man with integrity and is a very compassionate leader. He needs our help and support in this matter. We ask the city of Laguna Niguel to stand with the other cities who have already stepped forward in support of Sheriff Barnes's appeal. And the final comment is from Ken Mintz. I am very concerned that the council is taking up this matter. How can you support an amicus curiae brief that hasn't been written yet? We are all against the arbitrary release of convicted violent prisoners, but you should also be looking at what the judge stated regarding the sheriff and what he has failed to do. Please spend more time in trying to help solve the COVID problem in our city, county, and country, as well as the homeless problem instead of this. And that concludes the public comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to comments from my city council colleagues. I'm going to start off with council member Sandy Rains, please.
Thank you, Mayor Minigar. Obviously, we are faced with a lot of difficult decisions these days, and COVID has impacted many of the lives of people, regardless of where they are. We have many public servants who serve our communities, and their safety and protection is just as important. Last week, I sent a letter to Judge Peter Wilson, and I'd like to read that today to those of you who are listening. I asked Judge Peter Wilson, I asked him to reconsider his order to release 1,800 inmates from our county jails. As an elected judiciary, he has a responsibility to law-abiding citizens. Once a citizen has broken the law and been arrested, they compromise their rights. We are living in a community now where civil liberties are being violated by overzealous legislators, and public safety is being compromised by judicial representatives fearing backlash from activist groups like the ACLU, who have proven to be enemies of law and order. Once an offender commits a crime, police arrest them and evidence is gathered. Our district attorney's office gets involved, and when they feel confident there is enough evidence to convict, they put their case on a docket and await trial. During this time, these offenders must be held in jail for the safety and protection of our community. All these processes are in place to keep our community safe. Taxpayer dollars fund this work, and is not only irresponsible to release these offenders, but a disregard for the process and money spent. Recently, right here in our own county, an offender who was released stabbed and killed his ex-girlfriend. How many other innocent lives must be affected before we stand up to special interest groups to protect our communities? Our governor has a shelter-in-place order for law-abiding, healthy citizens, and your order clearly places the rights of criminals before those whose tax dollars pay the salaries to serve them. There is absolutely no reason why the jails cannot quarantine inmates who have COVID-19. In addition, why would anyone think that an inmate who has no regard for the law would be released and abide by state orders to shelter in place? I urge you to please not release these officers, and I support Don Barnes and Todd Spitzer, our district attorney, in this appeal. In addition, I just want to make sure that we all understand what we're talking about here. In the California Constitution, we're free as a victim from intimidation, and we're free to be protected from the from a defendant, and to be safe from the to keep our families safe and our from the victims who have violated our safety. Right now, Sheriff Barnes has already reduced the capacity of COVID positive patients from 50.6% in May to 1.2%. His work has shown that he is taking this seriously. He has provided PPE for our staff and inmates in the jail. And as mentioned earlier, 33% of prisoners released from jail re-offend. So releasing criminals from jails right now would be a tragedy to our public safety. The governor is extending our shelter-in-place order because of the COVID, and with that being said, that would even endanger even more of our residents. This is not a time to be pushing criminal justice reform at the risk of public health and safety. For these many reasons, I support us joining in this amicus brief, and I support our law officers and our public health officers, as well as the safety of the people who work in that, and the hospital workers as well. That's all I have to say at this time.
Thank you very much, Madam Council Member. I'm going to move on and ask Council Member Kelly Jennings for her comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excellent letter, Councilmember Raines. That was fabulous. Thank you for doing that. So we know that Laguna Niguel's top priority is public safety. And my top priority is to fight for all the rights of the victims of the crimes, as the same considerations of those accused. The court order says nothing of these victims and leaves them to spend their holidays and beyond wondering if their aggressors are lurking in the shadows of the cities, just waiting to victimize them again. Where's the due process rights for these victims? Where is releasing 1,800 accused criminals the rights of the victims being protected? This is without question a moral outrage and a legal travesty. As for me and my voice on behalf of Laguna Niguel's residents, I'm squarely on the side of those who have suffered in the hands of others. They must not be forced to suffer again by releasing those from jail that would do them further intimate harm. Also, where is the process in the defense for our police services that they have risked their lives to investigate and arrest those accused of crimes in the first place? Are we willing as a society to simply ignore their efforts by putting them in harm's way yet again when it comes time to round them up of all of those who have been released? No way. Never, while I have a voice, will I ignore the difficult and dangerous work of our deputies. Finally, this mandate caps a number of our jail population, thereby stopping the intake of new inmates. As such, we will thereafter be unable to further book people who've been arrested into jail, resulting in further release of accused criminals. Public safety is my top priority, and I wholeheartedly support Sheriff Barnes' effort to keep criminals off our streets and in jail where they have been rightfully placed. Whatever the remedy may be for COVID crisis, throwing open the jails and releasing the worst back into society on the streets is not one. For that reason, I wholly support the city's protecting Sheriff Spaulding's appeal. I recommend that for efficiency and to keep the cost to a minimum that we join with the other cities in filing a single amicus brief. I believe our city manager and city attorney would be well suited to coordinate those efforts with those cities who have also voted to join this cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Council Member. I'm going to move on to Council Member Rishi Sharma, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it is not my intent to discuss the interests of the judge solely in keeping with my commitment to our civil liberties and maintaining local control. Solely, I have a twofold responsibility. One is to protect and defend the Constitution of California and that of the United States, respectively, as well as to support our city's strategic plan, in which public safety is our #1 priority. I do not believe that the court adequately considered the protocols that are currently in place by Sheriff Don Barnes, including but not limited to the cleaning and quarantining and testing of facilities, the hygiene and additional cleaning supplies that are made available. And further, the court has insufficiently taken into consideration the fact that many of the prisoners that would be released have an inadequate supply of cleaning resources available to them, and therefore may be put further in harm's way. The immediate threats posed to our residents, one may argue, are low relative to the low-level criminals that are being released, but I would submit to you that a conversation is not being had, or the plea bargaining tactics that are used to convict criminals of low-level crimes. Not to mention that we have 2 medications that are available now and many other resources to treat COVID. As we now currently have sufficient funds in our operating budget from 2021, I am in favor of Laguna Niguel signing on to and authorizing the use of the city's name in the amicus brief being coordinated by Newport Beach in support of Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes' challenge to the court order. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Council Member. I'm going to move on to Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway, please.
Thank you, Mayor Minigar. This is a direct and imminent threat to the safety of our community, both in terms of crime and public health. And it is very important that Judge Wilson's order be reversed. And not to duplicate or reiterate what my council colleagues have said, because I wholeheartedly agree with them and support the city joining this amicus brief. I do want to point out that those that to be released are not charged with misdemeanors. In the last couple of years, the propositions that have been passed by the voters of California have seen to it that a lot of the misdemeanors are not in jail. Those offenders are not in jail. So what we're talking about are those that are charged with felonies. And to quote Sheriff Barnes, these are not low-lying offenders. These are people for very serious offenses like murder, attempted murder, and domestic violence. So this is who the order would be releasing back into the communities. And when we talk about community, we have to look at our immediate community of Laguna Niguel, but also our extended community of Orange County. And realistically, we know that many of the offenders will be going to some of the most vulnerable areas in our county. So we have a responsibility to help protect those areas as well. And it's something to note is that some of the inmates in question, they are awaiting transfer to the state prison, but Governor Newsom has blocked that transfer. And if Governor Newsom were doing his job on his end and not blocking the transfer, these people would not be in the county jail. So that has increased our county jail population. And not only is it an issue of crime, but it's also an issue of public health, because they'll be introducing into the community people who have been in a confined environment. So there will be a cross-contamination of populations at a time when public health officials are telling us to not commingle households. So you have a crime issue and a public health issue. And when you consider that the inmates have been confined to the jail, and with the work that Sheriff Barnes has done, the positivity rate has been greatly reduced. I'm wondering if the inmates' health may be more protected in jail than coming out into the community where there are not all of these protocols in place. I find it curious that Judge Wilson serves in Orange County's civil courts, but thinks it's okay to issue such an egregious order regarding the criminal court system in Orange County. I do have a question, though, for City Attorney Ennis. City Attorney Ennis, this matter is of great importance to our residents, and the outcome has a much higher value to our community than $1,000. And as you know, I'm very frugal when it comes to our taxpayers' money, and I am in no way suggesting that we all of a sudden incur more billable hours. But is $1,000 enough for an optimal outcome for Laguna Niguel? If there is more that we can do, I would suggest we entertain a higher dollar amount to make sure that we address this issue as fully as we can. So I would just, if City Attorney Ennis could answer that question, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Genoway. The $1,000 appropriation number specified in the staff report is what the City of Newport Beach estimates to be the maximum pro rata share cap of spreading the cost of the amicus brief across the 20 cities that so far have indicated a potential interest in signing on. In addition to that, and behind the scenes, there is work that I have been doing with Newport Beach, with the amicus writer and my firm to assist them in their efforts to bolster their brief and provide additional support in that way. So we are incurring some additional costs, which are covered by the existing city attorney budget. So beyond just the $1,000 that would be paid to Newport Beach, there is additional costs that we are incurring and monitoring to keep them reasonable.
Okay, and that additional cost is in what the City Council has already approved for the City Attorney's Office during the normal course of business.
That is correct. We believe we can incur this cost and within the existing budget of the City Attorney's Office. Yes.
Okay, so you feel comfortable that the $1,000 allocation would be enough for this issue?
Yes. We actually believe that when all is said and done, given the volume of cities that are participating, that amount may actually be less than the $1,000.
Okay. Okay, thank you, City Attorney Ennis. And again, I fully support our City of Laguna Niguel joining in this amicus brief, and wholeheartedly support the efforts of our law enforcement and our District Attorney's Office. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Mayor Minigar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. In our great city, public safety, security, and health have always been first priority on my agenda. It's never been more paramount than this new critical public safety, security, health situation of the court order requiring that reduction of the Orange County jail inmates population by 50% in all congregated living areas. We're talking about 1,800 criminals. That is the main reason that I called for this special meeting along with my City Council colleagues to support the City of Newport Beach's amicus brief in Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes' appeal of the order releasing approximately 1,800 inmates from Orange County jails into our streets in Laguna Niguel, along with 33 other cities in this great county. And that's why I feel morally obligated to move in that direction, to join all of my City Council colleagues, as everyone heard their voices, their passionate voice, to support what Sheriff Dons is doing, and also to support the lead agency, in this case, the City of Newport Beach, that is spearheading the whole process to basically appeal the decision of the judge. So with that, do I have any other comments from any of my City Council colleagues or any other questions before we move on to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
Mayor Minigar, I have another question. I'm not sure who might be able to answer this question, but
Please, go ahead.
one of the things that the judge said would be that they would place ankle bracelets on the inmates that would be released. And my question is, for some of the comments that were made earlier about the costs that are associated to joining on the amicus brief, does anybody have any idea what the financial impact of that would be to our communities, tracking and tracing these ankle bracelets, and if they would even rearrest these inmates once they were released? I don't know if maybe one of our chief can answer that question, or if I think you probably would be most appropriate, Chief McDaniel.
Thank you,
Chief
Councilmember
McDaniel,
Ring.
the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. A couple of comments. Electronic tracking and ankle bracelets is not the same as in custody. Those folks do get monitored, but that monitoring isn't a constant. It is not something that if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing on those under that surveillance type system, it's not an immediate arrest. We have to then track those folks down. And often in these cases, these folks don't want to get caught. So the mere letting them out in the first place is what the problem is with that. Sure, there's going to be cost entailed in that. I think what the sheriff's point is, we don't want to get to that with these kind of offenders. We're dealing with the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer to that. Do I have an exact cost? I do not. Certainly there would be a cost to that program.
Thank you. I appreciate the response. I obviously felt that is not the right way to go, but I wondered if the cost would, I'm guessing the cost would far exceed $1,000 that we're directing our staff to spend on an amicus brief. Would that be correct statement?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. That's it. That's all I have. If there isn't any, I mean, I'm happy to move the item that to approve that we join the amicus brief if no one else has anything else.
I second your motion. All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. This is the public communications portion of the agenda for the meeting. And I believe we need to adjourn the meeting at this time. Madam City Clerk Gomez.
Hi, Mayor. Thank you. You don't need to adjourn yet. You're just going to recess to closed session, and then you'll
Very
adjourn
good.
after closed session.
Very good. So we're going to recess for 5 minutes
Well,
into a closed session.
let's
make
first,
sure
we
that
have
it's only
city
5 minutes.
attorney to read us into closed session, and then we'll take
Very
a
good.
quick break.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We have one item of closed session. It is conference of anticipated litigation, potential initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9 involving one potential case. That concludes my announcement. Thank you.
All right, we're
Very good.
put everyone who's not supposed to be in closed session into the waiting room, and Justin will let us know when everybody is in the waiting room. They cannot
All right, it looks like we are ready for the broadcast.
Yes.
Okay, so we have finished our closed session. Mayor Minigar, would you like to continue the meeting or would you like me to?
You can go ahead because I was out of most of the meeting, so.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so we are returning back to open session. City Attorney Ennis, do you have any reportable action?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Genoway. I have no reportable and final action to report regarding the closed session item. And that concludes my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there anything else, City Manager Letourneau, before we adjourn the meeting?
No, that's all.
Okay, so from the Laguna Niguel City Council, a very Merry Christmas and happy holiday season. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy Laguna Niguel. Happy holidays. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.